So who is the who that you need to be able to help you achieve those specific goals? So if you want to be able to get a space, who's the person that you can help you get a space? If you want to increase your income and funding, then who is the person that can help you be able to do that? If you want to be able to increase the amount of men that are coming through your program or increase the amount of students that you're partnering with, well, who is the person that can help us do that? Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create environments where people thrive. Through real conversations, practical strategies, and powerful stories, we equip leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself to build cultures rooted in purpose, performance, and authenticity. Because culture isn't something you talk about, it's something you live. This is the Contagious Culture Podcast. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, and we're going to be talking about something today that I believe a lot of nonprofit executive directors need to hear. If you are a founder, if you are a nonprofit executive director, if you are somebody in an organization, whether it's a school, whether it's a mission-driven organization that is ultimately trying to grow it, trying to raise funds, trying to ensure that your programming is expanded, that your impact is expanded, then this conversation that we're going to have today is exclusively for you. Now, if you are in corporate America, I definitely believe there's going to be a lot of nuggets shared in this episode that I believe can speak directly to you and be able to provide you some guidance, provide you some perspective, but then also provide you some tools that you can be able to navigate in the corporate space. But as somebody that for the last decade has led schools, has built organizations, have led teams, have been able to coach, develop, and empower programming, I believe this conversation is probably one of the most fluid and most impactful conversations I believe we've had on the Contagious Culture Podcast. And I'm so excited to be able to share some of this information. So yesterday I was talking to a friend, a colleague, and even a mentor of mine that runs an organization based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Not going to give the name to the organization because I want to be able to provide some, to continue to keep that name anonymous. But she is doing some absolutely amazing work. She's empowering men to take advantage essentially of their mental health. She's empowering men that work in the space of domestic violence abusers, offenders, and she's transforming these men's literal lives. Some of these men are coming through their program just hurt, unhealed, and have come from some very challenging circumstances. And the result of what she is producing is truly transformational. So we were having just a conversation yesterday evening, and she was explaining how she wants to do some different things. You know, she's in her late 60s. She wants to be able to step back and not be so forward facing in what she's doing, not be the person that is making all the calls, not be the person that's showing up to all the events, not be the person that's teaching all the classes. She wanted to be able to step back. And there was something that she said that truly inspired me to film this episode, that she hadn't taken a paycheck. And I believe the 10 to 20 years that she's been doing this. Let's just pause there for a second. That she's been doing this work for 10 to 20 years, roughly. I don't have the exact date, so I just want to put it in that range. But she's been doing it a long time. And the organization has not generated enough income to the point where she can draw a paycheck. Now, I followed up and I said, well, how are you surviving with doing this work? And she said, she takes owner's draw. I don't know if it's a monthly or a biweekly basis, but she takes, an owner's draw out of the accounts. But I was just thinking of my time as a full-time entrepreneur and just questioning, how are we building businesses? And we're doing it for 10 to 20 years and we're not on a paycheck. And it really inspired me to have this conversation. And I thought through, after that conversation, well, if I was helping this organization, if I was coming in as a consultant, if I was coming in to really be able to coach, to train, to develop, what would I do? What would I say? How would I help this organization? What would I recommend? So I wanted to be able to produce this episode for nonprofit executives, nonprofit owners, founders, board members, school development advancement officers, and just anybody that is trying to grow your organization, trying to approach and reframe how we develop our institutions or grow our organizations forward. Okay. So the first thing that I would do in this case is first look at what we have. And I have a lot of notes written down on my paper in front of me, but then also my computer screen. So it's not going to be very methodical in how I share this, but I want to be able to walk you through exactly how we would be able to do it. So the first step as a founder, as an executive director, of what I would recommend is you to write down your goals and what you want to achieve. And let's say over the next 3 to 5 years, I want you to be intentional now, because oftentimes we are wanting things, but we don't have any measurables. And a mentor of mine always says that we can't meet what we've never measured. So we can't achieve various things financially. We can't achieve various things in our businesses. We can't achieve various things in our lives if we don't have clear goals on what we're trying to accomplish. Okay. So we want to be able to have clear goals in what we're trying to accomplish. So what are the goals? And how I would recommend you break these goals down are impact related goals and income related goals, because I do believe they tie in together. So impact related goals are, what is the difference that you want to make? What is the difference that you want to make? How many people do you want to serve? Let's say in the case of this organization, since we're using this organization as an example, as a case study, how many men do you want to come through your program or enroll? Okay. What is the testimonials or the transformation that you want to be able to have? And why I say this is because Davidson College, I've had the privilege of connecting with their sponsorship and giving and philanthropic giving teams across their whole college. And I was speaking to a gentleman, a colleague, friend of mine, Jeff Prince, who is their, I believe he's the VP or one of the higher level senior major gifts officers. And he runs a lot of the programs and leads a team. And one of the cool things that they're doing over at Davidson is, instead of measuring their major gifts officers by how much money they secure on a yearly basis, they're measuring it based upon how much they ask for. And it's a really cool metric, because if you think about it, if I ask for $1 million and let's say my close ratio is 40%, then that's $400,000. So next year, either I can focus on asking for more dollars and keeping my ratio at the same place, or developing the skills and resources and methodology so that I can increase my closing ratio, keep my goal at that $1 million ask point, and then maybe I've increased it to $500,000 or $600,000 and $700,000. And as I increase my close ratio, maybe on the back end, I can be able to then increase how much I'm asking for, since I've been able to develop that skill and to build that muscle. Now, why I bring this up as an example is because, what are the goals of your organization? The 3 to 5 year mark, what are things that you are working to achieve as an organization? From an impact related standpoint, how many people do you want to touch? How many transformational stories do you want to write? How many features do you want to have doing different things? Where do you want your target audience to be? Okay. And on the other hand, income related, where do we want to be? Maybe I want to be able to hire another talent. Maybe I want to be able to hire another team member. Maybe I want to be able to increase our savings. Maybe we want to be able to have our own location. Maybe we want to be able to do this, because when I think about this organization that I'm talking about that's based in Charlotte, North Carolina, they don't have their own location. They're renting space from other places. They don't have just cash flow coming in every single month outside of the members that are paying on a weekly basis to be a part of the program. So maybe at the end of the year, I want to be able to have, let's say, $50,000 saved. Maybe at the end of the year, I want to be able to have 2 full-time coaches that can show up and teach these specific lessons. Maybe at the end of the year, we want to be able to have our own location. Maybe at the end of the year, we want to have softwares and systems and do these different things. What do you want from an income-related standpoint tied to goal? And then what do you want from an impact-related standpoint tied to achievement, impact, transformation? Now, once we identify people, the goal, in my opinion, it's not about creating something new. It's not about pivoting. It's not about those different things. In my opinion, it's now from an impact standpoint, who's my who? I talk about this all the time on the Contagious Culture Podcast. There was a book that I read years ago called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. And the concept of the book is not always trying to figure out the how. Partnering with a who is so much more valuable and so much more necessary. It's so much more of it's going to give you a higher return on your investment. So who is the who that you need to be able to help you achieve those specific goals? So if you want to be able to get a space, who's the person that you can help you get a space? If you want to increase your income and funding, then who is the person that can help you be able to do that? If you want to be able to increase the amount of men that are coming through your program or increase the amount of students that you're partnering with, well, who is the person that can help us do that? So now this allows you to understand, like, all right, we have these goals. Let's say that's point B. We have these goals. And then we have where we are right now. That's point A. Let's say we are a struggling nonprofit organization that doesn't have enough cash flow, that doesn't have our location, that doesn't have these various things. What I recommend you do is then identify how can we get from point A to point B, and not asking yourself how, ask yourself a different question, who? Who can help us get from point A to point B? So the second step after we identify goals is for us to partner with the who, and that's for us to build a board. Part of the conversation that we were having yesterday evening with a friend of mine that runs that nonprofit in Charlotte, North Carolina, that I was explaining to you, she was mentioning that she has this organization where she partners and develops programming for men to be able to enhance their ability to be able to navigate crucial situations emotionally, be able to better build relationships with women, and essentially not be controlling or manipulative or narcissistic or domestic violence abusers or offenders anymore. Okay. So she has a transformational programming. But that's not the challenge. That's not the challenge that she's experiencing. Isn't her programming. It's the operational, financial, and system side. So when you think about what she wants to be able to do, I would focus on building a board. Who are the people that I can recruit to my board of directors? Who are the people that I can recruit to my advisory team? Who are the people that I need? And we identify the people that we need based upon the skills that we want to be able to develop, based upon the gaps that we currently have. We want to be able to increase financing and funding. We want to be able to secure sponsorships. We want to be able to have our own location. We want to be able to increase our bandwidth and expand our programming. So how can we add people to our board so that they have and possess these necessary skill sets? Oftentimes we have these goals. We have these impact-related goals and income-related goals, and we have even people that want to help us. But I want us as nonprofit executives, as school leaders, to stop hiring based upon proximity and want, and start hiring and recruiting based upon the skills that the organization needs to be able to fill the gaps that we're trying to achieve as an organization. So how can we build our build? How can we build our board? Who are the people that we need to recruit? Who are the people that possess the skill sets? Who are the people in our network or even out of our network that we need to connect with and build key relationships with in order for us to be able to build the bandwidth of our organization? So if we're having funding issues, then we need to have a funder on our board. If we're having operational issues, then we need to have somebody with an operational mind on our board. If we're having marketing or PR issues, then we need to be able to have those types of people on our boards. So second step to being able to develop and all of these things that I believe that this organization needs to do and that you need to achieve or you need to implement as an organization, as a nonprofit or mission-driven organization, is number one, is write down your goals. As a founder, as a visionary, you need to write it down. What do you want to achieve within the 3 to 5 years from an impact standpoint and from an income standpoint? Number 2 is I want you to identify your who. From the book by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy, Who Not How, I want you to identify your who. Who needs to be on your board of directors? Who are the people that you need to be able to fill the gaps that your organization is currently experiencing? Who's your who? So now that we've built our board, now that we've identified goals, now what, Kyle? Now what do? I have this great board. I have these different things. The third step, in my opinion, is to identify what you do have. Identify what you do have. So the organization that I'm sharing about has exceptional programming, But one of the things that I realized, and one of the objections that I was communicating, and she was asking me last night, well, how do we get funding? And I was like, well, you have to reach out to people. You have to tell the story. And then one of her objections was coming back to me. She said, well, Kyle, people don't want to give to domestic violence organizations that are helping the men that went through this situation. And I said, that's a great perspective. But then I thought about it a little bit more. And I said, it's not that you have a programming issue, you have a PR nightmare. We need to better communicate the story. We need to better communicate the story of our organization. If we believe that people are not giving to our organization because they identify our organization as an organization that just has a whole bunch of people that damaged and harmed and were cruel to women, then we now need to shift and talk more about the transformation, talk more about the valuation of your giving. I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine before I got on this episode, and she was explaining, and in her words, one of the most challenging things to do in giving, in fundraising, in sponsorship, in philanthropic giving is being able to identify people that are giving not just based upon feeling, but being able to put value to what they're giving is going to do for that organization. Here's a perspective for you. Here's a perspective. What is the true ROI from people supporting your organization? What is the ROI? What is their return on investment, or what we call a return on an impact? What is the return on an impact? If someone donates or if someone gives, whether their time, their treasure, or their talent, what is that doing for them? A friend of mine always says, well, what's the benefit for me? And when she said this to me, I had to think through, and I asked her a question that another friend that runs an amazing, another amazing nonprofit based in Denver, Colorado. And then I asked her a question. I said, well, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? And she said, I want to be known for being the person that helps build trusted brands, being the person that helps build trusted board of directors. She also communicated that she wanted to be able to be known for the person that reframes networking reputation. She also wanted to be known as the person that you contact when you need to know the right thing or have or know the right person. She wanted to be known as an exclusive community that she's building. And this other friend of mine that runs a different nonprofit organization in Denver, Colorado, she's built an exclusive community of high-level professionals, $50 million to $2 billion organizations that they're running this high-level community. It's invite only, membership based only. And it's so amazing and transformative, but she's having trouble getting sponsorship dollars. So as she was talking, I was writing down words. And then this, again, gets us to the fourth step. Y'all. I was writing down words, and I wrote down the 3 words: exclusive, trustworthy, and power. Hey, it's Kyle. Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I got a quick culture check for you. How's your team's energy right now? I mean, literally, right now. Are people feeling inspired, or are they just showing up? See, here's the truth. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it actively every single day. And that's what I help organizations do. Build contagious cultures that people actually want to be a part of. Through keynote talks, interactive trainings, and hands-on consulting, I help leaders transform the way their teams connect, perform, and grow. So if your culture needs a little bit of spark, let's light it up together. Visit theculturelab.org, again, theculturelab.org, or connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Kyle S. King to learn more about how we can work together. Because remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching. Now let's get back to the program. And I looked back to her and I said, when you think of the word exclusive, what do you think about? And the first thing that came out of her mouth was Met Gala. She said Met Gala. And I said, okay. And then I asked her, when you think about the word trustworthy, what brands or what companies do you think about? And then she said Meta, she said Apple, she said Amazon, and she said Southwest. I said, okay. And then when you think about the word power, what do you think about? And then she said Rolex. And I said, okay. So I said, then why aren't we building relationships with these organizations? If our values and the words that we would use to define our brand align with other brands, then why aren't we connecting with those brands? This is the first step for us to be able to get into corporate sponsorship. Now, again, we're gonna back up a little bit if you're just now joining us. What we're talking about today is the reason that your nonprofit isn't growing. Your nonprofit isn't growing, number one, is because you don't understand your goals. Your nonprofit isn't going because you don't understand your impact-related goals and your income-related goals over the next 3 to 5 years from a visionary standpoint. Number two, your nonprofit isn't growing and your organization isn't growing because you don't have the right people on the bus. You don't have the board of directors that are filling the skills gaps that you currently possess or currently have. You don't necessarily have the right partnerships or any partnerships, nor do you possibly have the resources to be able to truly grow and empower people. Number three, the three question, you don't have a brand. You don't have a brand. And when you think about it, ask yourself this one question. I want you to reflect on this one question. What do you want to be known for? So similar to the friend of mine that runs the nonprofit organization in Denver, Colorado, she wanted to be known as exclusive, trustworthy, and powerful. So coming back to the first case study that we were talking about, the nonprofit that's based in Charlotte, North Carolina, that works with offenders or abusers, domestic violence abusers, I would ask her, what does she want to be known for? Because then we have to shift the narrative. We have to be able to communicate something a little bit differently when we're talking about it, when we're sharing information about it, when we're communicating or running ads about it, when we're the copy on our website. It all has to look a little bit different, because oftentimes we want funding, we want opportunities, we want sponsorships. But the first step that I always talk about is, are we actually prepared for that $1 million gift? Are we prepared for that $500,000 gift? Are we prepared to be able to receive the type of income or the type of impact that we actually have on our vision list? So number one, write down your goals. Number two is build your board. Number three is build your brand. What story are you telling? What story are you telling online? What story are you telling? So if I was coming into her organization and I was transforming her organization from within, I would first start with working with her on her goals. I would then begin to work on her building her board. Then with the board, we would identify key priorities over the next 6 to 12 months, or if not 18 to 24 months. Once we have built out our focus as leaders, we would continue to do the programming. Then after that, we would rewrite and rebuild our brand within that 6 to 18 month time period. We would tell different stories. We would write different copy, and we would show and talk about the transformation and the value of why this organization exists. See, the preparing stage is important. We want to be able to prepare our systems. We want to be able to prepare our brand. We want to be able to prepare our websites. We want to be able to prepare our board. We want to be able to prepare our teams and our people and have the necessary resources so that we can prepare ourselves. But then once we're prepared, we want to be able to go through a process and a season of proving the value that we have as an organization. And I believe that this organization based in Charlotte, North Carolina has proven it. For years, they've transformed men. For years, they've graduated men. For years, they have track record and testimony of their ability to be able to transform people from where they were to where they need to be. The transformation, the testimonials speak for themselves. But one thing that I realize is that if we're not talking about what we do, then it's kind of like us not doing it. It's kind of like us not doing it. So here's a quick step-by-step of what I would recommend this organization doing. Here's a quick step-by-step. Number one, if I think about an organization that has great programming, but doesn't have funding, great programming, but doesn't have a strong board, great programming, but doesn't necessarily have the best brand, here's a quick tactics. Now we get into the tactics. Now we get into the steps that get us from point A to point Z by creating a model and a step-by-step list of the things that we need to do. Number one, I would enhance the programming, not change it, not develop new programming. I would enhance the access of the programming. If the program is only in person once a week for men, I would then think about entering another marketplace. So what that other marketplace would be a virtual market space. So men that have not joined the program before, men that do not live in Charlotte, North Carolina, how can we provide access to men outside of this area that they're not court appointed to go to this program on a weekly basis, paying specific pricing? Okay, so that's number one. I would open up access to the programming. I would take that same program that's presented every single week and I would make it virtual. I would go through the same exact modules. I would take all of the modules. I would record all of the modules on a camera, on a Zoom, or on a computer, or have an intern do it, or leverage AI. And then I would build a digital course. That is number one. You have to be able to increase the access of your programming if you want to be able to increase the opportunity for you to empower or impact other people. That's number one. Number two is I would build a CRM database. Now, this woman that runs this nonprofit organization and is executive director of this nonprofit, I would build and leverage a CRM tool, either HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, Keep by Infusionsoft, Salesforce, or even tools that work specifically for nonprofit organizations. And you can get many of these tools for free if you have an active 501c3. I would get one of these tools and I would ensure I would build custom list for every single person that is currently and every single person that has been through my program. I would focus on cleaning up the database of the people that have either been in the program, graduated from the program, have exited the program, have been a part of or associated with the program in any kind of way. Whether you've come to 1 class, 10 classes, 26 classes, or graduated the program, I would put a list together of all of those people. So let's say this list is 100 people. And I know it's so many more people than just 100 people. I would create that list. I would tag it 3 different ways. Number 1 is people that have graduated. Number 2 is people that dropped out. Number 3 is people that are actively still in it. And then I would send those individuals a survey, all 3 different surveys. Number 1, if you've graduated, what were the things that you liked? What were the things that you would want to see moving forward? And how can we continue to offer support? What are some of the programmings? What are some of the things that you would want so that you can customize your email follow-up sequence to be able to speak directly to those people? Number 2, the people that dropped out, how are they doing? What do they need? What do they wish they had? All right. Then I would build a sequence based upon the data, based upon the survey. Now we're making data-driven decisions. Now we are making data-driven decisions. Then the people that are currently in the program, I would just follow up. I would check on their experience. I would ask, what can make your experience better? Once they graduate the program, I would then move them to the list of the people that are graduated. So these are 3 different automations that you could be able to build out. Number 1, people that have dropped out, see what they want, and then we can build automations. People that are currently in it, create an experience. How can we enhance your experience? How can we make this experience much better? And then number 3 is people that have graduated. So once you go through the program, you go onto that list, and now it's curated for maybe weekly updates, maybe weekly newsletters, maybe testimonials, maybe a weekly newsletter that provides tips for these men to continue to move forward in their lives. Maybe it's a weekly member feature or a student feature of some great things that student is doing. How are we engaging with our alumni? On the college level, we call it donor engagement. On the school level, we call it alumni engagement, but it's the same thing in regards to organizations that have members in some type of way. How are we continuing to keep our members engaged? Because it's not about acquisition, it's about retention. But in order for us to be able to retain our members through a period of time and increase the lifetime value, the LTV, the lifetime value of our customer, we want to be able to ensure that their experience is positive. So we want to be able to keep our people retained, not just get a whole bunch of new people. And while they are retained, we want to ensure that their experience is remarkable. Their experience is amazing. Their experience is worth coming back for. So first, you want to be able to clean up that list. Then we want to be able to survey that list so that we can see what that list needs. And then we need to listen to what the survey says. We need to analyze the data well enough so that then we can start curating experiences via email, via text, via follow-up, so that we can be able to ensure that these people remain retained. There it is. All right. So now, once we've built something, and again, it first starts with us setting goals, y'all. So set your goals, and I'm going to write this down. Set the goals. Number two, build your board. Number 3 is build your brand and tell your story better. Okay? Tell your story better. Clean it up and align it with words that people will resonate with. And then you have to audit. So build it. Before you can build anything, you have to audit where it's at. Build your story in a more inclusive way. All right. And then once we build our brand, now we're going to have to audit our programming and systems and our workflows. Okay, so then we have to understand, all right, what are we doing? Where are the gaps? Who are the people? What are the skills? What is the story that we're communicating? And how can we enhance this? So with this organization, I would add that access. I would increase access. So you want to be able to increase access. Then with the same organization, I would want to be able to reach out and be able to engage with alumni. So write it down, engage with alumni. And then we want to be able to engage with them through surveys, through optimization strategies such as email, such as text, and such as follow-up. Here we go. So we're going to continue. So now that we've been able to do this, now that we're capturing the stories of the people that have engaged with us, now we're capturing the stories of the people that we've transformed. Now we're capturing the stories of our organization. Now this offers us an opportunity to prove the value that we have as an organization. Now we've moved from from preparation to proving our value as an organization. And then this allows us to partner with other organizations. So one of the mistakes that I see a lot of organizations make is that they're not talking about transformation. They're just talking about benefits. I want you to talk about the transformation that your organization makes. I want you to talk about the reason why your organization exists. So it simply could be newsletters on a weekly basis. It simply could be launching a podcast for your organization where you have different men or members coming on and sharing their experiences. And it's kind of like a before, during, and after segment. Where were you? What did this program help you do? And where are you now? With this organization that I'm continuing to talk about that's based in Charlotte, North Carolina, it's not just an organization that helps domestic violence offenders. It's, in my opinion, it's a school for men's mental health. And it's important for this organization to change the perception and the narrative of what they do, who they do it for, and their transformation that they're creating, and this ripple that they're creating in communities. So that's what I would recommend you do. So we're going to recap really quickly, and then I'm going to go into a different case study of another organization. Number 1, have you set the goals? Have you set the intention? Impact-related goals and income-related goals. Once you understand your goals, you have to assess where you currently are and how far we are from maybe those goals that we want to be able to achieve, because we can't meet what we've never measured. Number 2, have you built your board? Does your board reflect the goals that you are working towards achieving? Does your board reflect the goals that you are working towards achieving? Number 3, based upon your board, based upon your goals, what is your brand? And what do you want people to know you for? And I want you to think about this from a 3-word perspective. So let's use the example of the nonprofit organization in Denver, Colorado. She said exclusive, she said powerful, and she said trustworthy. Does your board reflect exclusive, trustworthy, and power? Does your programming reflect exclusive, trustworthy, and power? Does your pricing models reflect exclusive, trustworthy, and power? Does your branding online or your websites reflect exclusive, trustworthy, and power? So when you're building your brand, identify 3 to 5 words that will identify you as an organization and how you want to be remembered and how you want to be seen and what story you want to be able to tell. And then I would identify, well, what are the stories or the transformative stories that you've curated, or what are the results that you've achieved that align with those words? So let's say this nonprofit organization, let's use exclusive, power, and trustworthy. What would your students say about this, the power of exclusivity? Or how have people been able to develop trust? Or what would other people say about how those 3 words within your organization? And then I want you to write those stories and continue to tell them and rewrite or even relook at your mission statement and ask yourself that one question. Do these words align with our mission? And are we showing this every single day and every single thing that we do? When I recruit talent, am I aligning it with these values and mission? When I reach out to send proposals, am I aligning with other organizations that align with this mission? When I am communicating with my team, does it embody exclusivity? Does it embody trustworthiness? Does it embody power in everything that I do? And then it's important for us to audit our programming, our systems, our workflows, because before we can be able to advance relationships forward, before we can be able to partner and have major gifts and this donor and alumni engagement, it's important for us first to do one thing, and that's to prepare our systems. Do I have a CRM? Do I have a customer relationship management tool where I can look at and analyze the people that have been in my programs, have engaged with my newsletters, have come onto my websites, have showed up to my events? And is there a way for me to be able to communicate and follow up with these people? And once I follow up with these people, is it a way to be a customized experience where I'm understanding their aspirations and their behaviors, and I understand the psychology of the person that I am serving enough to be able to curate emails in the way that they want, to be able to produce content in the way that they want, and be able to present in front of them in the way that they want, to be able to not just acquire them, but to retain them and to keep them engaged. So examples that I gave for this specific nonprofit organization, number 1 is I would recommend her increase her access, make her in-person programs, move them to digital. If they're a digital-based program, I would offer your current members access to the digital programs as an additional incentive, as an additional tool, as an additional resource. But then number 2, I would offer an opportunity to sell those programs outside of the current members. It would be a lifetime or a life cycle of the people that have access to them. And then people that have been out of the program, they can get access to the same information for an additional cost, whether it's a monthly membership cost and they still get access to the information, or it's people outside of the network that have never been a part of this program. I would sell the course, whether it's $197, $497, or $1,000 program. You have to match the price with what the value is. And I believe the program is absolutely valuable. So I would invest thousands of dollars to be able to ensure that mentally I am strong, that I'm not being controlling, that I'm not being manipulative, that I'm not showing up in these spaces. And it will impact how I lead, how I am as a spouse, how I parent, and all of these different things. Number 2 is I would engage with alumni. That is the second strategy that I would recommend her do, is engage with alumni. Identify who's been through the program, who's currently in the program, and who dropped out of the program. The people that have graduated, identify what they want and have a strong follow-up and communication system to keep them intact. Number 2, the people that are currently in the program, ensure that you are providing the best possible experience. And number 3, the people that dropped out of the program, identify what do they need. I would offer an additional educational resource, such as a podcast, a weekly newsletter, or some form of blogs or written articles where it's constant education. This offers you an opportunity to partner with other psychologists or mental health professionals, or bring on past members and graduates or legacy members of the program to be able to ensure that we're educating the masses on the power of going through this program and of the content. So if you have content, you're in a great position, because you could literally make different episodes, 20 to 30-minute segments per week, where I'm teaching a specific excerpt from the book or from the workbook. Again, this is critical. This is critical. If you are a nonprofit leader, I want you to ask yourself, what goals have I set? If you are a person that leads an organization, I want you to ask yourself, who am I around? Who's my who's? I want you to ask yourself, well, how valuable is your board of directors? What are they doing for your organization? And how can we increase the bandwidth of our board so that they can actually help us achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve? Because yes, it's important for us to prepare ourselves as an organization. Yes, the first step is we got to get prepared, y'all. We have to get prepared. And preparing ourselves look like setting processes, bringing on a board. It's processes, personnel, and systems. What processes do we have in place that align with our goals and our mission? Who are the people that are contributing to us achieving the goals that we set? And then what are the systems that we have to be able to manage this organization effectively, efficiently? Once we've been able to prepare ourselves and optimize the business model and optimize the day-to-day operation, number two is we have to be able to prove our value. Proving our value is all about how we share our story. We have to talk about testimonials. We have to be able to communicate before, during, and the end. Where are we now as an organization? Where do we come from? How many people have we impacted? How much money have we raised? What are the members that are being featured this week on the various things that we're doing? Who are the people that are doing amazing things in the community but still went through this specific programming? It's the same ways that colleges feature students and alumni. How are you featuring the people in your organization that have come through the various trainings, the various courses, the various workshops, and the various information that you are teaching? How? Because once we prove that we are valuable, now this allows us an opportunity to partner. Now this allows us to go back to that original exercise when I'm talking about what do you want to be known for? And if you write down those 3 to 5 words, now we can partner with other organizations that align with it. If you know your values, then partner with other organizations that know their values. Here's a quick hack. You know, the best people to give you money are the people that have already been through and transformed from what you offer. That's why churches have people that tithe, that go there, that get transformed. That's why colleges and universities tap into their alumni network that have went through their specific colleges. This is why. So if there are already people that have experienced domestic violence or abuse or these different things, then those are the first types of people that you go through because they understand the story. And then when you're communicating with them, now you build a base of a foundational base, and then you continue to grow upon that. And the more impact that you make and the better you tell your story over a period of time, the dollars will increase. Your bandwidth will increase. The organizations that want to sponsor you will increase. That's what I would recommend. So again, if you're a leader, I want you to build your board. If you're a leader, I want you to set goals. If you are a nonprofit executive or leader, I want you to get intentional with building your brand and telling your story. If you are a leader, I want you to be able to audit what you currently have. Don't focus on creating something completely new. Just make what you do better. Increase the access. Engage a little bit differently. Enhance it a little bit differently. Share the story a little bit differently. Just a little bit differently. And then I believe that you'll be able to truly be transformative in what you do. How can I do one thing a little bit differently or add on one piece to what I'm doing for the next 100 days? In a community that I'm in, we're reading a book called The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And one of the chapters, it talks about doing something differently and intentionally for the next 100 days. For the next 100 days, I'm going to ask you to do something differently to enhance what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. What are you doing? How can you increase what you're doing on a day-to-day basis to be able to increase your impact and increase your income? How can you do it? What do you want to be known for? What are your goals? Who is on your board? And what can we add? And how can we better communicate our story in order for us to be impactful? Impactful. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comment them below. I want you to like, subscribe, and share this episode because there's somebody right now that's leading in the nonprofit space. There's somebody right now that's doing some absolutely amazing work, but just not enough people know about it. Not enough people know about it. There's somebody out here that's doing amazing work, building in amazing communities and transforming people's lives on a day-to-day basis. And they can't secure funding. Look, if you want funding opportunities, let's talk about it. Because funding can't happen unless you're prepared. Funding cannot happen unless you've proven what you've done. And even if you've proven what you've done, funding can't happen unless people know that you've done it. So we have to do better with telling our stories. We have to be more intentional with setting our goals. We have to be more intentional with building our boards. We have to hold people accountable to a higher standards within our organizations to achieve the goals that we're setting out to achieve. We have to be more intentional. So hopefully this was valuable for you all. We will see you on the next episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. But before we tap off, one thing I want you to remember is the energy you bring is the culture you create. The energy you bring is the culture you create. If you bring an energy of excellence, if you bring an energy of transformation, if you bring an energy of humility, if you bring an energy of inquiry, then that, my friend, is the culture you create. So the energy you bring is the culture you create. Make yours worth catching. We'll see you all next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Contagious Culture Podcast. If this episode challenged or inspired you, hey, take a second to share it with someone who's building culture in their world. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself join the movement. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or YouTube at Kyle S. King for more tips, tools, and methodologies to be able to help you create this ecosystem of absolute excellence. Until next time, lead boldly, live intentionally, and remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching.